Welcome to the Rich Lady Revolution, Redefining Rich with Diane McKendrick. Hey, lovely lady, I see you. You're an ambitious, high-achieving woman, driven, passionate, and ready for more. More money, more impact, more freedom. This is the place where women just like you come together from all over the world to break the old rules and redefine what it truly means to be rich. Because being a rich lady is about so much more than money. Joining the Rich Lady Revolution with those two sisters is about more than the money in your bank account. It's about building wealth on your terms, doing what you love, with who you love, and creating a life that feels as good as it looks. It's about stepping into your unshakable power and purpose. This podcast, combined with my 5th book, is your personal invitation to step into your rich lady identity. I will be here to educate, inspire, and empower you along the way, to support you to cut the crap, do the thing, and be the rich lady you were born to be. So if you are ready to elevate your income, your impact, and your life, the revolution starts now. Hello, and welcome back to episode number 270 of the Rich Lady Revolution. My name is Diane McKendrick and I am your host. And in this podcast, I get to chat to incredible women about redefining rich and what wealth really means to them. And I think today is a very special day because I've got a friend of mine, Sarah Petty. Hello, Sarah.
Hey, hello.
So great to have you here today because we met once again at the Curated Circle. I meet so many wonderful people through the Curated Circle. And
Yeah.
it was in Melbourne. I went down for the launch of the Melbourne. And the Curated Circle most of the time is a room full of men, which is lovely because I work with women. And when you walked in, I was like, oh, I felt you before I saw you. And I was like, I think she's my person, but I just need to talk to her first and see what she's like. So, things orchestrated and moved around and we got to chat a little bit. Actually, I was listening to you talk to somebody else, and I could see by your very grounded, wise demeanor that I guess I like to try and guess what people do before I meet them. And I was like, she's got to be in finance for sure. And then as we started chatting, you asked me a few questions. We got to know a little bit about each other. And then fast forward a little bit, we got to catch up in Brisbane. I was like, yeah, she really gets it. You are in finance. You've done incredible things. You've got a little boy as well, so you're parenting. Um, we had lots of different conversations. So I'm just going to hand over to you if you want to introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, and maybe a little bit of a journey on how you got to that so people know who we're speaking to.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Diane. And I think it was funny because we didn't actually talk that much at that first lunch. We introduced ourselves to each other, but it was the follow-up, I think, when we met in Brisbane, and then we were just chatting and chatting and chatting and felt like we could have been there for hours. We both had other appointments we needed to get to, but there was just this connection, and I know we've exchanged a lot of voice messages and spoken since then. So there's definitely been a connection, and sometimes you just find that with people right from the start. So it's been great to meet you, and I'm so happy to be here on your podcast supporting your community today. So who am I and what do I do? I have spent nearly 20 years in corporate before I went and started my own business. So yes, I'm a qualified accountant, and I had worked my way up through corporate in those finance roles, into the senior roles, into CFO, all of that. And look, I got a lot out of that experience, met some amazing people throughout. And I love that finance can help solve problems. Like that's what I love about it, the problem solving. But as I worked my way up the corporate ladder, I did not enjoy the corporate politics, the expectations of long hours and needing to be on call 24/7, long commutes into the office. And I think, yes, I do have a young son, and in some ways that changed my perspective, but I don't think you need to be a parent to, rethink those type of things. There's just certain points we get in our life where we realize, what is this all for and who are we doing it for? Because a lot of the time it wasn't for me. I wasn't even really believing in the mission that I was supposedly supporting. And I wanted to just do something that felt more fulfilling, and I could really see the impact that I was having in the world. So fast forward a few years, and I started my own business called Olive Business Partners. We are a fractional CFO and CFO advisory business. And if you don't know what that means, basically, we are helping small businesses to get better at managing their money so they can make more money. And we want to see small businesses not just survive and get by, but actually thrive in business. And this is, yes, I'm coming from a financial perspective because I believe getting more money into the hands of people who actually have meaning behind what they do, who are trying to drive impact, who have the right intentions behind their business, the better we are overall. So that is my mission, is to help more small business owners who are driven by purpose and passion to get more money into the hands of them and help them thrive.
Can you guys see exactly why I got Sarah onto the podcast? That was beautiful and so easy to listen to. So the journey from the corporate world, working for somebody else's vision and mission, realizing that there's another way, and your focus now getting more money into the hands of the right people to make a difference. And
Yeah.
I think this is what I felt from you initially. Like you said, we didn't really get to chat too much at the first curated circle, but the moment that we met here in Brisbane, there was this resonance and this understanding because I think it was that month I was actually delivering on the numbers you need to know in your business that no one talks to you about. And granted, I'm not a finance person, I'm a business owner who has in the past learned the hard way, like a lot of business owners have. And we just had a really beautiful conversation about that. And I think as I'm meeting more finance people. What I feel is really important is there's educated people, there's clever people, and numbers are numbers and they make sense to some people. But I think as you're choosing the person that's going to support you with your finances or the expert that's there for your finances, it's really important that you pick someone or a group of people with similar values to you. And so, do you want to share with us? And I think that's one of the things that drew to me. To just listen to you for 5 minutes, I could understand that you live your life and your business through a certain filter of values that I
Mm.
think is so important, particularly for women in business. It may be different for the men. They tend to be a bit more transactional. That's fine. A little bit more structured and maybe say steady or sturdy at points, just depends, right? But for women, business owners, I think as you're choosing an expert, please always look at who that person is, not just professionally, but also in their personal life. So, do you want to share with us what a few of your values are,
Mm.
personally and professionally, that makes you different to most other CFOs and finance people out there? Because there's so many, right? And how do we know who to choose? This is probably another podcast. How do we know who to choose, and how do we know who to trust, and how do we know if they're doing a good job? But I
Yeah.
think if that initial value set is matched, and as you're listening to this, you could even be thinking it's time for me to change my finance person or seek out someone else. It's going to be these type of conversations that with AI coming in and the world changing, that really lands or plants a seed in your heart like, hey, I'm on the right track. I'm with the right people. So what are your values personally and professionally?
Yeah, well, firstly, I couldn't agree more with that approach. I think the values alignment is extremely important because there are lots of CFOs, accountants who are qualified, have the same qualifications as me, have done the same education. We could all, put a financial report together just as well as each other. But it really comes back to that values alignment. And there will be people who will resonate with me and align with my values, and there'll be people who don't and they align with someone else. And that's okay too. You don't have to be everything to everyone. And I think that's something I've realized as I've built my business is getting clear on my values. So I'm attracting the clients that I also want to work with and they want to work with me. There are some people who just won't be attracted to what I do. And
It's
I'm
it is it's a bit of a different conversation, isn't it? Because I haven't heard many people talk about this in the past. And often when I'm at the curated circle, because it is male dominated, not for long though, because I'm on an inviting spree to get all the chicks in the room, all the right people, right? There's a very different conversation that happens, and it is a lot more transactional and structural and strategic, and that's all really important. But I just often feel like a bit of a hippie or an imposter because I'm like, just bring it back to your values. Like if you need a new staff member, because we do the mastermind at the end, a new staff member, or how are you handling this, or new leads? I was like, guys, values, have a conversation about what's important to you. Because I try to explain that whether you're male or female, if the values don't match, it's going to cost you something eventually, which is probably more than money. And it's
yeah.
not about judgment or who's right or who's wrong. It's just about as a business owner, as a parent, what's important to me, and how do I choose experts, friends, colleagues, people that you're having lunch sitting at the table with? How do I choose people with similar values? Because that is always just going to be such a different interaction.
Yeah, for sure. And actually, a lot of my clients are men. And maybe they're not consciously thinking of that. But I find a lot of the business owners that we're working with, whether they're men or women, they're actually quite driven by their values. Whether it might be subconscious, but the men that we're working with, there's a real passion, there's a values, their business is quite values driven, whether they know it or not. They're not particularly articulating it as clearly, but they are values driven. I can clearly see that, things like family is important to them and they're building a business around that, or the impact that they want to have on their clients is very important to them. So, in terms of my business has four values, which I think very much align with me personally as well. The first is growth. So, we want to see our clients grow, but also see ourselves grow. And that is, learning from what we do, continually upskilling ourselves. No one's perfect, but if we keep, growing and learning, then that's what we're all about. Connection is the second one because that is really important. And I think people think of something like finance as being maybe a sort of transactional type relationship, but it actually becomes quite personal, particularly when you're a business owner. There is so much.
I would say very personal because when I first got my accountant and bookkeeper on board, I was like, when I looked at what you guys did, I'm like, you going through my numbers, where my money is invested, spent, you know more about, well, sometimes you know more about people than their own partner does.
Yeah, and it's vulnerable, right? To show someone all of that. Like it can be quite confronting to show someone all of your financials, to talk about the challenges. I mean, as a finance professional, there's not much that I haven't seen. It's like going to the doctor and you feel all awkward about taking your clothes off and they're just like, oh, it's just another body. We're a bit like that when it comes to finances. But for the business owner, I fully respect that. So when someone is engaging us and willing to share all of that with us, I take that with, the utmost respect because that is a real vulnerability to share that. And so it is important that we have that connection. And as a business owner, even though we are focused purely on business finances, we don't really get involved in personal finances with our client. There is some sort of, interaction. A lot of what they're doing in their business is linked to personal goals. So it just naturally, you do need to get to know your clients. So with a lot of our clients, we will know their kids' names and their parents and where they're going on holidays and all of that because it actually helps us to understand the person building the business. So connection is extremely important, which I think is different to some other CFO or accounting firms where it is quite transactional. Third is integrity. That is so important for me, doing the right thing no matter what. And there are times where I've had to make a call on things in my business that have impacted from financial perspective. So I've said no to revenue or, a new opportunity, but high integrity is so important. And I think, it just, our clients know that they can trust us because we do that. We live and die by that. That is so important to me. And the last one is excellence. And I have to admit, like I have been a perfectionist in the past, and some people say to me, oh, that's not a good value to have. But look, I hold myself and others to a high standard, and it doesn't mean perfection. I've learned that. But I do want to offer a high quality service to my client, and I want to keep growing and evolving myself. And that to me is sort of what that excellence is about. So a lot of that is reflection of my personal values. I live and breathe that in my personal life, along with what we do in the business.
So, growth, connection, integrity, and excellence.
Yeah.
It makes is a lot clearer to me now why we connected so deeply so quickly.
Yeah.
Because I would say that's very similar to mine. Growth, connection, integrity, excellence. I have another one in there, and I think it's part of growth, which is curiosity. Like
Yes.
this deep desire to be curious about everything that's offered up and never just take the first answer as the face value. It's like, oh, what sits underneath that, and what sits under that, and what sits under that. So if you're listening to this, I think it's really important that first of all, you know and can articulate your values, particularly if you're a business person, because so much is linked to it. And even if some of you are going to know because you've done this sort of work, and others, it might be the first time you've heard it. It was a couple of years ago that I first heard it. And the best advice I was given was look at, if you're wondering about what your values are, look at what your life demonstrates. Where do you spend your time? Where do you spend your effort? And where do you spend your money? And that will be a very good indication of what your values are. Just so you know, so when you're out networking or you're meeting people or you're choosing experts for your team, that you can ensure that they're a good match.
Yeah. And sometimes the other indicator is what are the things that get you really riled up, right? Because for me, it was always if someone is treated unfairly, if someone lies, if someone cheats, like that for me, I would get so worked up about, but that's coming back to the integrity. That's when
Yes.
I know that's a really true value for me because yeah, I just can't deal with that. And for me, that is such a hard line. If someone's lying or trying to be deceptive, that is you know, we don't work together, doesn't work.
Yeah, oh, I love it. Okay, so we've just been rebranded here at Those Two Sisters. We're now called Those Sisters. So it's more about sisterhood and bringing peace to people's profit. So you work with people who make money, small business owners, large business owners. So I'd love to hear from you because you're like the profit person. You look at the numbers, you show people the numbers that matter and how you can relate to them or understand them to ensure more of that's ending up in your pocket. And what I find often with people or women particularly, what can happen in the commitment to profit or growth or scalability in their business, it often comes at the sacrifice of something else. Also, when we're parenting, so we're running businesses in our professional life, in our personal life, many of us are parents. You've got one child, I've got two. There's some ladies I work with are four, five, six kids and running four, five, six businesses. I'm like, how on earth? But anyway, we all make it happen. What's your opinion, or how do you actually, here's the question, how do you personally bring peace into your profit? Because you are a mum, you're working, running your own business. How do you ensure you keep that balance for yourself?
Planning. I mean, I'm generally quite a structured person. Sometimes my husband would say too much so. But planning, and when it comes to your financials, I mean, finance can be one of the biggest stresses for business owners. And that's often why we're brought into a business. We say we're coming in there to help improve your profit or help you get more cash flow, blah, blah, blah. But really what we're doing is alleviating stress because a business owner that doesn't have clear visibility over what the future looks like to be able to make decisions, that is what leads to stress. So for me, it's planning. So I'm constantly re-looking at my financial plan, and every business owner really should be doing this because it's not about having a plan and everything going to plan. That never is the case for anyone. It is all about seeing what's coming ahead and constantly pivoting. So if something didn't go to plan, what decision do you now need to make or something that you need to do differently to get back on track? And if you can see what that path looks like, it doesn't matter if it's, good, bad, whatever. What I always say to my clients is we put so much emotion behind finance and numbers, but numbers is just data. It's just data. So if something happens in your business, it hasn't gone to plan, but you have control because you can now make another decision based on that data and do something differently. And that for me, having that control and knowing that you can make a decision, you're running the business, you're not letting the business run you, that creates so much peace. And over time, we'll create profit too. If you're more planned, you're more intentional about the decisions that you're making, you will be more financially successful, but it helps to create more of that peace. And this isn't to say I just live in a land where, every day is just perfect and peaceful. Not at all. I have my moments of stress too, right? But if I go back to my numbers and I go, okay, put these numbers in, what is this data telling me? What do I need to do now? That always calms me down to know there's something in my control.
I love that. So what I heard you say, summarizing it from my version, is that to bring peace to your profit, it's really imperative, crucial to have a plan. It's not about the plan going perfectly or exactly step by step the way that we think it's going to go. It's about having the data that you
Yes.
need and knowing the numbers that you need to know that if you need to pivot quite quickly, you can do that and make data-driven results. And should you have the right people on your team in order to support you to do that, it's going to reduce the stress. It's going to bring peace to the profit. And then we can set milestones, goals along that journey so people can is this the right word? Methodically show up and continue to do the the time management or the tasks that keep increasing the profit while knowing your data to make the decisions.
Yeah. Because you've got then got some structure in your business. So something goes wrong, you know what to look at. You know the levers in your business that you can pull. You know you've got choice. Whereas if you don't have any plan or any structure behind your business financially, something happens, it's the uncertainty that drives stress. It's actually not the bad news that drives stress, it's the uncertainty. And so the more that you can create certainty, and again, when I say certainty, I'm not saying that everything has to go to plan, but you've got something to fall back on that is objective and it's driven by data, so it can take that emotion out of it immediately. If you don't know, it's uncertain, you don't know, it could be good, it could be bad, it could lead to this, it could lead to that, that's where the stress constantly comes in. So yeah, I mean, and I'm saying this because I've had 20-year career in finance and it's easy for me to put a plan together. But yes, if you don't have that in your business and you don't know how to build it, getting someone in to help you create that structure is the way to go to just alleviate that stress. And, you know, as we work with clients, we're all about educating clients too, because the one thing I don't want to see business owners do is just outsource all of their finances to their accountant or their bookkeeper or a CFO and say, okay, do you just deal with it? You know, tell me what I need to know. You are the CEO in your business. You need to understand it because you're the one that's making the decision. So you don't need to know it at an accountant level. But we're all about educating our clients so that they understand why they're making a decision. It's not just me telling you, do this, but here's why I'm recommending it. And then it's your choice because you are still the owner in the business. So there is
Yes.
a level of control that we need to take. We need to take accountability as founders and owners of our businesses too, not just outsource it completely and put our head in the sand.
And this is something else that really highlighted to me what a great operator you are, because we started talking very early on in the piece about this piece of education,
Mm,
um, to then support your clients to make empowered decisions. And I
mm,
really also loved how you said it's the uncertainty that drives the stress. And so having the plan and the structure and you on board to support that and build in a bit of certainty can really reduce the stress. So I think in summary, actually no, there's one more question. We've got a couple more minutes before my next call. In
mm.
summary, what are few of the numbers in like 2 minutes or less, and I know I'm putting you on the spot here, the numbers that you need to know that most people don't talk about that you think are imperative and important to growth in someone's business, that if someone's listening to this, either a beginner or an established business owner, what do you need to know that people don't talk about?
Okay, well, I'm going to say four numbers that you need to know in your business. So one, you do need to know revenue, which is generally what everyone focuses on. So I wouldn't say that's the one that people don't know, but you do need to grow revenue to grow your business. Without revenue growth, your business isn't growing. The second one is profit, though. So of that revenue, how much is actually left at the end of the day once you've paid all of your expenses? That is important for the sustainability and longevity. You can keep growing revenue all you like, but if there's no profit, you won't last that long. The third is cash in the bank. This is not a metric to just run your business on solely because cash in the bank one day could be very different the next day. But cash in the bank tells you if your business is stable. So do you have enough to pay your bills tomorrow? Pretty important question for a business owner. Now, the last one I think that people don't talk about is how much do you pay yourself as an owner? Because so many business owners are running their business either not paying themselves at all, paying themselves very inconsistently, or kind of waiting till, one day when the business grows. We have to be valuing ourselves as an owner from early in the business. If you are putting yourself last after every other payment that you've made and you're not paying yourself a salary, your business model is not working. There is something structurally wrong in there if it cannot support paying the CEO of the business, which is you, the owner, the founder. So that is one thing that I would like business owners to have a look at. And if you're not paying yourself well today, it's okay. Don't stress about it. You can get back on track with your plan, have forward-looking plan. But that is probably the most important metric that people don't look at. Is businesses can look all kinds of successful from the outside and on Instagram and all the things, but then the founder's not being paid, or they're constantly putting money back into the business, which is an even worse situation. Not sustainable. You're not valuing yourself in the business if you're not doing that. So yeah, that's a key one I would like people to take away.
I think that's so relevant, and I'm sure there's plenty of people squirming in their seat right now because the first three are easy, right? Revenue, know what comes in, profit, know how much is left after all of your expenses. Cash in the bank. We teach first milestone 3 months cash cushion or cash buffer, 3 months if everything went tits up, belly up. You could pay everything for 3 months, first of all, and the next one, 6 months, and then keep building that out as the business scales. But the thing that's not talked about as much, and probably because there's a lot of shame and guilt associated to it, is exactly like you said. And I know I've been through this process and honestly still catch myself in it. If there's a shortfall somewhere, the person that misses out is me. I don't know if dudes do this quite as much as women, but I think that's so important for so many business owners to realize, to have that plan to ensure that you are getting the wage and putting yourself first, because that's an energetic of business too. I learn a lot of that the hard way, and I know that I'm still learning. I always consider myself a beginner. But please make sure you take those four numbers into, and that's just like a chunked up version of it. If you're to work with someone like Sarah, she'll take you deep down into not necessarily nitty gritty, but what you need to know as the business owner to feel educated, empowered to make the data driven decisions to keep driving your business. Because business is about so much more than money in the bank account. We need the money in the bank account to keep functioning. But I feel like a lot of people you work with and a lot of people I work with, you and me, business is about impact.
Yeah.
Business is about how we can actually heal, grow, evolve, and change lineage patterns, which is probably a completely another podcast. I do have another call on, but I just wanted to thank you so much for coming. I always enjoy my time with you, whether it's here on Zoom or in person at a lunch or catching up for coffee in between. Remember that day I met you? That's why everything changed, and the I ended up rushing in all flustered because there was a million things on, and all the timetables changed, but we made it work, and you were just so graceful. So thank you. I really enjoy our chats. I'm really looking forward to getting to know you better, catch up when I'm in Melbourne, seeing you when we're in Brisbane, when you're in Brisbane. And is there any final words you want to say to round it up? Any final words of wisdom for everybody?
Thank you, Diane. I really appreciate all of those words there. The key thing for me is just don't put shame on yourself if you've gone through this conversation thinking, oh no, I'm not paying myself, or I'm not profitable, or I don't have 3 months cash in the bank. There's no shame in that. Again, it's just data, and work through the plan to get yourself back on track. And there'll be times when it's working for you, and there's times when you need to revisit the plan. So don't judge yourself, please. We've all been through ups and downs in our business, but use this information as data to do something differently.
Oh, yeah, I love it. I love your approach to this. And just before we finish, I feel like we could talk for all day. I'm looking at the time saying, oh, how many more minutes have I got? Where can we find you? If someone's listened to this, first of all, if you've listened to this, go and take some action immediately, change something immediately. And if somebody wanted to look you up or get in touch with you, where can they find you? And we will also drop this in the show notes so people can go and connect with you.
Amazing. Well, you can find us on socials. I'm Olive Business Partners on Instagram. Same on LinkedIn, or you can look me up, Sarah Petty, directly on LinkedIn. Or our website is olivebusinesspartners.com.au. But feel free to drop me a message on socials if you've listened to this. I'm very happy to point you in the right direction, or have a quick chat and see whether we can help, or I can point you in the direction of someone else. I am always looking, if someone is willing to help themselves, I'm willing to help you.
Yeah, I love it. So all that will be in the show notes. And if anyone's listening along from Sarah's following, friends, colleagues, my name is Diane McKendrick. I am from It's Still Those Two Sisters. We haven't done the full rebrand yet. Website, Those Two Sisters, and it's the number 2. And then all my socials are under my personal name, Diane, Diane, Diane McKendrick, McKendrick. And we'll put all that information in the show notes. So thank you everybody for joining us. I'll see you the same time, same place next week. Wow, what an episode. Now here's the thing, knowledge is power, but action is where the magic happens. So if today's episode lit a fire in your belly and you're ready to cut the crap, do the thing, and step into the woman you were born to be, then I've got something special for you. Join us inside the Rich Lady Revolution, the membership. It's your next level support system and soul-powered strategy space to redefine what it means to be rich. Rich in profit, peace, presence, and power. This is your invitation to experience what it's like to be fully supported and deeply connected with a world-class coach and a community of high-caliber women who get it. Women just like you. Women walking the path of aligned success with no more burnout, no more sacrifice, and absolutely no more hiding. Inside, you'll receive weekly accountability, rich conversations, and real-life tools to evaluate your income, your impact, and your inner world, all for just $149 a month with no lock-in contracts. So if you are serious about stepping into your rich lady identity, redefining success on your terms, and making meaningful money without losing yourself in the process, head over to www.thosetwosisters.au/membership, or come join the conversation on our Facebook page, The Rich Lady Revolution. Your next level isn't just calling, it's right here waiting for you. Trust me, your future self will thank you for it.